His personal feelings doesn't matter. All that matters is making sure his friend's leg gets healed. Illoyp is a tiger that in this episode shows his claws and fangs. Hello everyone and welcome to the Anime's Illoyp, and thank you for joining me as we talk about episode 10 of the God of High School anime series. An episode that gave us a lot of character backstory for Illoyp's character and was all round a fun and lively episode. So, let's start off with Illoyp straight away. This episode starts off with Illoyp and just basically exploding in rage, as more light gets shed on his relationship between himself and Tuck. You know, the blue-haired shark-using, borrowed power user. Simply put, Tuck broke Illoyp's friend's leg after basically beating her in a martial arts competition, and simply put, he went too far in being a a-hole, and he already won the match anyway. He just wanted to rub salt into the wounds. This wound, of course, breaking her leg, which essentially put her out of martial arts for good. She can still walk again, which, to be honest, I always thought that she would never walk again. Hence to why Illoyp was actually going to do what he was trying to do. I mean, not being able to do martial arts is not the end of the world. Am I missing something? I know this is a series based on martial arts, but I mean, you can be a commentator. Oh, that didn't work out too well for the other commentator. Anyway, what I liked about this was not only the fact that it gave us more of an understanding as to why these two characters have a rivalry, more the fact though that it shows a side of Illoyp's character that we've not seen from him at this moment in time. Illoyp, after all, has been displaying most of the time happiness and cheerfulness. He's always got a goofy grin on his face and is always quite happy. The only time he is serious is when he gets into a fight that he basically just judges his opponent to be strong, or when that blue-haired character comes into play. And this guy, though, had a promise to keep, and boy did he deliver. Taijin asked young Illoyp to teach Mori something if they ever came across in terms of their past. And I thought that the teaching aspect of this episode was handled okay, even though the fight itself fell short for me, because it was a training match, so to speak. Well, for the time being, anyway. But now that Illoyp has awoken as the key, it's safe to say that this lesson for Morijin has kind of been finished, and now things are going to start heating up. Pun totally intended. But his awakening scene was really nice. It was well animated, but at the same time, it was a little bit lackluster for me personally. I'll explain more towards the end of the video. Speaking of fighting though, the way that the first match was constructed was really well thought out and something that played to both teams' strength. As we know, Illoyp is a great strategist in using a strategy where his teammate had to strike the ear of Dawe, knocking Dawe off balance. I thought was really smart and creative. But the more impressive aspect of this first fight was the fact that Dawe's opponent showing a lot of resolve and determination and still wanting to fight after the plan not working out. This, of course, just helps build up the other characters. Yes, this character that's fighting Dawe is probably a side character, and after this sort of arc's over, or after this season, we're probably not going to see her again at all. But you know what? If we can still build up side characters and make them somewhat relevant and interesting, that to me is a win for both parties. Where if you flip it over to the other side, Dawe's team, a fight basically serves as a way to get Mori to understand that his team are reliable, enough to help him with the threat of Nox. So Morijin should feel more confident in asking Mira and Dawe for help, instead of just going in solo and trying to do everything himself. Plus, we see that Dawe's borrowed power shows signs of kind of using it. Now, I really can't wait until we see the whole thing in all of its derpiness, because if they go with the same design as what's in the Webtoon series, it's going to create a lot of laughs, but also turn a few heads and make you go, huh? Anyway, I really like it. It was a good display. This fight, for me at the beginning, was actually probably the best fight of the episode in terms of like in ring. The stuff outside the ring, I'll talk about in just a second. Now, Mori does get some development here in realizing that he can, in fact, rely on his teammates. Even going as far as copying some of their moves to basically help cover his weaknesses with his re-taekwondo. And speaking of which, I would like more time to kind of help show and make it look like Mori is trying to think of a way or an answer to basically overcoming his weaknesses. I found that this episode kind of rushed that in that sort of aspect. Mori was like, come on, think. And after like 3 thinks, he suddenly thought, oh, why don't I just use Moonlight Sword style and just slash him with my hand? Why don't I just use a Black Fist of the Turtle? Hey, that works. We're teammates. Yeah, teammates. I just kind of thought, maybe a little bit more time. However, this episode was really jam-packed with lots of stuff. And that criticism I just said there was just a personal issue that related to myself personally. So, it's not a big thing, honestly. Now, my favourite segment of this episode was the display of Seo. He's a member of the Six, so we know that he's going to be strong. But by God, can he display some good techniques. He basically uses loads of weapons. He's known as the weapon master after all. And most of the stuff he's using is a national treasure. And we know how strong those are by just looking at the last episode where we saw how strong Mira's blade was. But the music that was playing in this really got me excited, and I found myself thoroughly enjoying myself while watching this even more. I felt like I was a part of a festival. We had lots of loud, cheerful music being played in the background with some flashing lights, and we even got a fire dance display from Illoyp as well, as we went back and forth from the fight to the Nox stuff. Honestly, once this started happening though, with the whole Nox situation, and the whole music started playing, I wasn't that interested in Mori's match anymore. Instead, I was just having fun, bouncing around, having a little jiggle to the music that was being played by the group of, Homeless Association? I think that's what they're called. Anyway, I really did like that. I thought it was really creative. I loved the music in this episode altogether, but this part really got me having a good time. And that's all I can ask for from an episode of an animated series. Just put a smile on my face and get me invested in enjoying the series and the episode that I'm watching. This did that brilliantly. So, overall, I really did like this episode. It was a really lively one that got a lot of information given to us, like Taki basically aligning himself with Nox for information, and obviously we now have the key awakening, which this could possibly be my only criticism of the episode, but this awakening scene that we saw was well animated, but it wasn't as intense as the webtoon counterpart. Like when I was reading this even, I was reading this part of the webtoon series on the edge of my seat, staring at the front of my computer, like basically up close and kind of trying to get a best look as I can because I was that invested in it. I almost wanted to jump in my screen and sit in the audience with, the pages I was reading. But this was a little bit underwhelming. And I think the reason for that, though, is because we had so much going on as we went back and forth between the fight and the Nox stuff. Yes, the Nox stuff was interesting. The fight was okay, but a little bit lackluster. And honestly, I did find myself enjoying the Nox stuff more than the fight. And if it was the other way around, then that intense kind of build-up, that awakening, would have been a lot more impactful, in my personal opinion. Now, the design for Illoyp's sort of awakening state looks fantastic. I won't take anything away from that. The animation was spot on. But at the same time, I just thought the overall vibe of the ending of this episode was just a little bit lost, in my personal opinion. The music, however, throughout this episode was phenomenal. Especially the beginning where we get the very sad backstory. And this kind of music that played with it was so sad, very mellowy, kind of like we could tell that Illoyp was struggling with what was going on. And then when he exploded with rage, the music kind of went up a bit in volume, and I really did appreciate that. It went so well and it harmonized brilliantly. So those are my thoughts on this episode 10 of the God of High School anime series. And I want to know what you think down in the comment section below. Did you like this episode? Did you think some parts were changed? Which there definitely were changes. I just can't think of many on top of my head at the moment, unfortunately. But at the same time, did you find them to be, well done? Did you find the episode well constructed? Let me know all of your thoughts down in the comment section below. Like the video if you like the video. Dislike if you dislike, but let me know why. I know I haven't got the backdrop like I normally would have. I'm having some issues with my green screen at this moment in time. So, you got my lovely manga and anime collection over there kind of thing, which you can't probably read on the screen. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed. Hope you have a good day. Subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me for more webtoon and anime style content. I bring that on pretty much a consistent basis each week. Apart from that, have a great day. Arigato, matane, goodbye.